My best friend made me dress in plain clothes for the ball selection. She went mental when the hottest man chose me to be his date. Every year, the Marine Academy students would come to our university to pick dates for their formal ball. It was this huge tradition, where they'd walk through our main courtyard in their dress uniforms, and formally ask someone to be their date. My best friend Alexis had been obsessing about this since freshman year. She'd spent 3 years planning what she'd wear when they came, how she'd position herself in the courtyard, and even practiced her surprised face in the mirror. She was convinced multiple Marines would choose her and would graciously pick the best looking one. When senior year finally came, she made me wake up at 5 in the morning to do her hair and makeup. She wore this red dress that she bought specifically for this day and spent $200 on it. She made me wear my regular jeans and a plain shirt because she said she didn't want us to compete for attention. And besides, the Marines never picked girls like me anyway. She actually said I was the supportive friend type, not the chosen type, and I should be happy with that role. We stood in the courtyard with about 200 other girls, and Alexis positioned us right in the center where everyone could see her. When the Marines walked in, everyone went quiet. There were about 30 of them, all in their formal uniforms, and leading them was this guy who looked like he walked out of a movie. 6'3", perfect posture, and these green eyes that you could see from across the courtyard. Alexis grabbed my arm so tight she left bruises and whispered that he was hers. She began posing and flipping her hair, ensuring he'd notice her. He walked straight toward us and Alexis stepped forward with her practiced surprised face ready, but he walked right past her and stopped in front of me. He said his name was Colin and asked if I'd do him the honor of being his date to the Marine Ball. Alexis literally gasped out loud and tried to step between us saying, "There must be some mistake." Colin politely moved around her and kept looking at me, waiting for my answer. When I said yes, he smiled and handed me a formal invitation with his contact information. Alexis stood there frozen while other Marines chose their dates all around us. Not a single one approached her. For the rest of the day, Alexis didn't speak to me. When we got back to our apartment, she finally exploded. She said I must have done something to trick him, maybe talk to him before somehow. She accused me of secretly preparing for this, and pretending not to care so she wouldn't suspect. She said I knew how much this meant to her, and I deliberately stole her moment. She actually used the word stole like Colin was property. She declaimed. She demanded I text Colin and tell him I couldn't go, that I was sick or had a boyfriend or anything to get out of it. When I refused, she said I was the worst friend in the world, and that plain girls like me didn't deserve guys like Colin. She said he probably felt sorry for me, or lost a bed, and had to pick the ugliest girl he could find. She spent the next 2 days giving me the silent treatment while texting everyone we knew that I'd betrayed her. She told people I'd been planning this for months and deliberately sabotaged her chances. Then she did something unforgivable. She texted Colin from my phone while I was in the shower. She told him I'd changed my mind and didn't want to go with him, that I'd only said yes to be polite, but I wasn't interested in military guys. She deleted the conversation so I wouldn't see it. When Colin didn't text me for 3 days, I thought he'd changed his mind until his roommate reached out asking why I'd been so cruel in my rejection. That is when I found out what Alexis had done. I contacted Colin immediately and explained everything. He was relieved because he'd actually been really excited about taking me. He said he noticed me volunteering at the campus veteran center and thought I was beautiful and kind. He'd specifically come to our university hoping to ask me. We made plans for the ball, and I didn't tell Alexis I'd fixed things. Instead, I told her she was right, and Colin hadn't contacted me again, so I probably wouldn't go. She immediately perked up and started being my friend again, saying she knew he didn't really want me. The night of the Marine Ball, Alexis was in our apartment watching movies and eating ice cream, fully believing I was also home moping in my room. I was actually at the ball in a gorgeous navy dress my sister had lent me dancing with Colin, who turned out to be funny and smart and genuinely interested in me. I got back to the apartment around 10 in the morning, still feeling like I was floating from the night before. The ball had been perfect. Colin had been perfect. Dancing with him, talking with him, laughing at his stupid jokes about marine life. My feet hurt from the heels my sister lent me with the dress, and I had glitter from the decorations stuck in my hair, but I didn't care. I opened the door as quietly as I could and saw Alexis exactly where I'd left her last night. She was on the couch in her pajamas with a blanket, watching some romantic comedy and eating directly from a pint of ice cream. The apartment smelled like the popcorn she'd made, and there were tissues scattered on the coffee table like she'd been having a sad movie marathon. My stomach twisted with guilt, even though I knew what she'd done to me was worse. She looked up when I came in. "How was your moping evening?" she asked it with this fake sympathetic voice that made my skin crawl. I clutched my small purse behind my back, where she could see it. The purse had my phone and the formal invitation Colin gave me at the ball with his number written on the back in neat handwriting. "It was fine," I said, heading straight for my room. "Just watch some stuff on my laptop. I knew you'd get over him eventually." She turned back to her movie. "Guys like that don't actually go for girls like us anyway. They just do the whole formal asking thing because it is tradition." I closed my door and leaned against it, my heart pounding. The navy dress was still in my car where I'd hidden it that morning. I'd changed back into regular clothes in the parking lot before coming up. I sat on my bed and pulled out my phone. Colin had already texted me twice asking if I got home safe, and saying he had an amazing time. I smiled and texted him back, then shoved the phone under my pillow when I heard Alexis moving around in the living room. The next few days were weird. I texted with Colin constantly but had to hide it like I was doing something illegal. He wanted to see me again, wanted to take me to dinner or just hang out on campus, but I kept making excuses. Every time I thought about running into someone who might mention the ball to Alexis, my stomach hurt. We finally agreed to meet for coffee at this place, 2 miles off campus that no students ever went to. It was mostly older people and business workers on their lunch breaks. I got there first and sat in the back corner booth where nobody could see me from the windows. Colin showed up 10 minutes later in jeans and a regular shirt instead of his uniform. He looked different, but still good. He slid into the booth across from me and smiled, then reached across the table to hold my hand. I pulled it back and looked around to make sure nobody from the school was there. "Sorry," I said. "I am just being careful." He ordered coffee, and we talked for a while about nothing important. He told me about his classes at the academy and I told him about my biology exam coming up. Then he got quiet and looked at me seriously. "Can I ask you something?" He stirred sugar into his coffee. "Why are we meeting 2 miles off campus like we were having an affair? You know I want to take you out for real. Like actual dates where we don't have to hide." I explained everything. The whole story about Alexis sabotaging me by texting from my phone, how I fixed it without telling her, how I let her think he ghosted me so she wouldn't freak out. I told him about lying to her about not going to the ball and how she still thought I spent that night alone in my room. Colin listened without interrupting, his coffee getting cold in front of him. "That is really messed up," he said when I finished. "What she did with your phone, that is not what friends do." "I know," I picked at my napkin. "But if I tell her now that I went to the ball and we re-seeing each other, she'll lose it. She'll make my life terrible. We live together and share all the same friends." Colin was quiet for a minute. "So you are going to keep lying to her, for how long?" "I don't know until I figure out what to do." He reached across the table again and this time I let him take my hand. "I get it. Toxic friendships are hard. I had a buddy at the academy who was like that, always competing with me, always making me feel bad about myself. But here is the thing. You are letting Alexis control your life even though she doesn't know she is doing it. You are hiding and sneaking around and that is not fair to you, or to me." Honestly, that hit me harder than I expected. He was right. I was still letting Alexis dictate what I could and couldn't do just like I had been for 3 years. I just nodded and stared at my coffee. A week after the ball, Colin texted me saying his sister was visiting campus for the day. Her name was Margot, and she was 2 years older than him, worked as a teacher in the next state over. He really wanted me to meet her and suggested lunch at the student union. I almost said no because the student union was right in the middle of campus where everyone ate, but something about the way he asked made me agree. I met them at noon. Margot had the same green eyes as Colin but darker hair, and she hugged me like we'd other forever. We got food from the cafeteria line and sat at a table by the windows. I kept looking around nervously, expecting to see Alexis or one of our mutual friends. "Colin says you two had a great time at the ball," Margot said, biting into her sandwich. "He wouldn't shut up about you for weeks before it." "Really?" I looked at Colin and he shrugged with this embarrassed smile. I told her about volunteering at the Veterans Center. He noticed me there months ago. Apparently, Margot listened and asked questions about my major and my plans after graduation. She was easy to talk to, the kind of person who made you feel comfortable right away. Then she noticed me checking the entrance again. "You okay? You seem nervous." I explained the Alexis situation, the whole thing from the beginning to now. Margot's expression changed as I talked, going from interested to concerned to almost angry. "Let me get this straight," she said when I finished. "This girl made you dress down so you wouldn't compete with her. Then when a guy chose you anyway, she sabotaged you and has spent years making you feel like you are not good enough, and you are still protecting her feelings." When she said it like that, it sounded insane. "I know it is complicated." "It is not complicated." Margot put down her fork. "Real friends don't spend years making you feel less than. They don't manipulate you or tear you down. And honestly sometimes the trash takes itself out. You just have to let it go." Colin nodded in agreement. I sat there feeling like they both just said something obvious that I'd been refusing to see. We finished lunch and I walked out with them, and that is when I ran into Dominic from my dorm building. He was with his girlfriend Sarah, both of them heading into the union as we were leaving. "Hey," Dominic grinned when he saw me. "You looked amazing at the ball the other night. I didn't know you and Colin were together." My stomach dropped. I could feel Colin and Margot, both looking at me, waiting to see what I'd say. Sarah nodded enthusiastically and said something about how cute we looked dancing together. "Thanks," I managed. "Can you maybe not mention it to anyone though? It is kind of private." Dominic looked confused. "Why would it be private? Everyone thought you guys looked great together. Half the people there were talking about it. I just would appreciate it if you didn't bring it up, please." He shrugged. "Okay, sure, whatever you want, but it is not a secret." Like people were posting pictures and everything. They walked into the union and I stood there feeling sick. Colin touched my arm gently. "It is going to come out eventually," he said. "You know that, right?" I knew. I just wasn't ready for it yet. 2 days later, I was sitting in my biology lecture, trying to focus on cellular respiration, when my phone started buzzing in my bag. I ignored it at first, but it kept going. Buzz after buzz after buzz. I pulled it out under my desk and saw 12 texts from Alexis. My hand started shaking as I opened them. The first one just said, "What the fuck?" The second one was a screenshot of an Instagram post from someone at the ball. It was a group photo, and I was visible in the background in my navy dress, Colin's arm around my waist. We were both smiling. The photo was tagged with both our names. The next 10 messages got progressively angrier. She asked why I lied, called me a snake, said she could believe I'd betrayed her like this. The last one just said we needed to talk immediately. I couldn't focus for the rest of class. The professor's voice became background noise while I stared at my phone, watching the messages keep coming. By the time class ended, there were 20 texts. I walked back to the apartment slowly, taking the long way knowing what was waiting for me. Alexis was standing in the living room with her arms crossed when I opened the door. Her face was red, and her eyes looked wild. Why did you lie to me? She didn't even say hello. You went to the ball, you went with Colin, and you let me think you stayed home feeling sorry for yourself. I tried to explain. I told her about finding out she texted him from my phone, about fixing things with him, about being scared of how she'd react, but she talked over me before I could get 3 sentences out. You deliberately humiliated me. You snuck around behind my back and made me look stupid to everyone who knew the real story. Do you know how many people must have seen you there and then watched me talk about how Colin didn't want you? You are the one who texted him from my phone. My voice got louder. You sabotaged me first because you stole my moment. She was yelling now. You knew how much that ball meant to me. You knew I'd been planning for it for 3 years, and you just took it. I didn't take anything. Colin chose me. That is not something you can steal. The argument went on for 20 minutes. She kept saying I'd been plotting against her since the beginning, that I must have contacted Colin beforehand to arrange the whole thing. She called me a snake and a fake friend. She said I'd been pretending to be supportive while stabbing her in the back. I tried to stay calm, but finally I lost it. You sabotaged me first. I said again. You texted Colin from my phone and told him I didn't want to go. You deleted the messages so I wouldn't know. And you've been undermining my confidence for 3 years by calling me the supportive friend type, and acting like I should be grateful you even hang out with me. Alexis went completely silent. For about 10 seconds she just stared at me, then her expression changed into something cold. You are delusional if you think Colin actually likes you. He probably felt sorry for the sad girl in plain clothes, or maybe it was a dare. Pick the ugliest girl you can find. That is probably what happened. Something inside me broke, but not the way it usually did when she said things like that. This time instead of hurt, I felt clarity. I could see the pattern so clearly. Years of little comments designed to keep me small. Years of positioning herself as the pretty one, the chosen one, while I was supposed to accept being the backup friend. I am done. I said, I am done listening to you tear me down. I am done pretending this is a normal friendship. You don't treat people you care about like this. She laughed. You'll come crawling back. You always do, because without me, you are nobody. I walked to my room and closed the door. I could hear her moving around in the living room, slamming things. Then my phone started buzzing again. I looked at it and saw she was posting on social media. I opened Instagram and there it was. A long detailed thread about how I betrayed her by secretly going to the ball after she being so gracious about Colin choosing me. She made it sound like she'd been totally supportive and I'd snuck around behind her back for no reason. She carefully edited out the part where she sabotaged me, made herself look like the victim of my cruel deception. My phone exploded with messages, mutual friends asking what happened, people taking sides. Some believed her version, some asked for mine.